Good evening. I call to order a regular scheduled Board of Commissioners meeting for tonight, August 20th at 7 p.m. First item of business tonight is our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. First, with our invocation, I've asked Tracy Stevenson, our Public Works Director, to lead us in our invocation tonight, and James Jordan, our Streets Superintendent, to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. If you would all please stand.
Would you pray with me? Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for bringing us here safely to this meeting so that we can do the business of our town. And we just ask that you put your hands over these commissioners and the mayor as we do your business, and we just take care of the things that have been put here by our citizens. And we just ask that you cover us all as we honor our employees today that have done good work so that we can be better servants of our citizens. And we just ask that you would bless this proceeding with what we do tonight, that it would be in your honor and for your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll be recognizing several of our town employees from the Public Works Department later this evening. At this time, I ask Town Manager Mitchell to review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this meeting. Adam, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, board members. It's good to be with you tonight. Tonight's town board meeting is both in person and live streamed on the town's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Tonight's meeting contains a public comment period and one scheduled public hearing. The public is invited to comment in person, and when it is the appropriate time, Mayor Massengill will call on those wishing to address the town board. All attendees that have appeared in person to address the town board during the public comment period should provide your name and address on the green registration sheet by the podium prior to the public comment period beginning. All attendees that have appeared in person to address the town board during a scheduled public hearing should provide your name and address on the white registration sheet by the podium. We ask all those wishing to address the town board either during the public comment period or a scheduled public hearing to begin their comments by clearly stating their name and address for the public record. The public is asked to keep all comments to 3 minutes so that all that wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. To be respectful of those that may have different views on matters addressed by the town board, we ask that all in attendance respect the decorum of the meeting by refraining from clapping, making loud noises, and generally showing support or displeasure for comments made during the public comment period or public hearings. Police Chief Smith will be asked to escort from the boardroom anyone not respecting this process, and it is the discretion of the mayor as presiding officer of this meeting to continue the public comment and or public hearing periods if the meeting protocol is not followed. This concludes the protocol for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Manager. First item of business tonight is the approval of the minutes from the August 5th, 2024 regular scheduled Town of Commissioners Board meeting. Any changes or additions to the minutes by board members? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, if there are no changes or additions, a motion to approve the minutes as presented to us.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. First item tonight, presentation 4A, presentation of the Downtown Generational Master Plan. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Economic Development Director McNeil and Austin Bowman with McAdams. Tiffany, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Board. I'd like to introduce to you Austin Bowman from McAdams Consulting Firm. The town has been working with McAdams Consulting Firm on the development of the Fuquay-Varina Downtown Generational Master Plan since 2023. Austin is here tonight to share recommendations from that plan. Following tonight's presentation, the draft plan will be available online at Let's Talk FV for 30 days for community feedback. I will be bringing the plan back before the town board at a later date for the board's consideration and potential adoption. Austin, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tiffany. Thank you, Mayor and board members. Like Tiffany said, my name is Austin Bowman. I am from the planning firm McAdams. We've been working with Tiffany and a lot of other staff in the community, as well as the Fuquay-Varina Downtown Association over the last year and a half, really, to put this plan together. And I'm here to give you a broad overview of the recommendations that are found in the report that's been made available to you by staff. And I'm happy to take any questions at the conclusion of the presentation. So just a quick overview of what we'll be talking about tonight. Wanted to share with you the vision and guiding principles that came out of the community and staff engagement process. And then the other 5 sections are the meat of the plan, if you will. So these are the recommendations that we had after hearing from the community, working with staff, and doing our own analyses of your downtown. So to set the ground for this, our goal with this plan was to make sure that upon adoption, and if you implemented the items found in this plan, that your downtown would be a vibrant hub of not only the town of Fuquay-Varina, but of the region. Downtowns have a unique draw that other parts of town don't always have, and that they can bring people both from the town and the region together. And we wanted to make sure that this plan marries the charm that you already have as a small town, as a Main Street town in Wake County, but also embraces the future and thinks about what will be generations from now and what will still be relevant generations from now. Each recommendation in the plan aligns with at least one of the guiding principles on this screen. The first one, probably the most important, we wanted to make sure that every recommendation in this plan got at making downtown a place for everyone, that we weren't just catering to one type of person, to one user downtown, but that downtown is a place for everyone. There is something for everyone to enjoy here. The downtown is more than just Main Street. While you are a Main Street community, and Main Street is where some of your businesses front, making sure that we're looking at all of downtown and for opportunities everywhere to improve. That downtown has a thriving economy, that downtown is walkable, accessible, and safe to all users, and that downtown is connected to community and culture. Briefly, before we get into the recommendations, Fuquay-Varina is only one of 2 downtowns in Wake County that's an accredited Main Street partner. We have heard from the community that's important, from the staff that's important. So as you're reviewing the report, you'll notice throughout that we have called out where we have synergies with the Main Street program and their best practices, because we also wanted to make sure through these things that the program that you've chosen to make yourselves part of, that this plan is advancing, you're standing in that program and is in alignment with that program. All right, so getting started with transformative places. That's the first section of the report and of this presentation. And these were opportunities that we worked with staff to identify big projects that could have a big impact and catalyze an evolution of downtown. And there were 3 that we identified. The first is called Piney Woods Park. The second is called the Junction Mixed Use District. And the last is called the Mineral Springs District, and I'll go through each of these briefly. Piney Woods Park came about from hearing from the community for a desire for a large central gathering or open space in downtown. And this is something that was reinforced by our own walkthroughs and analysis of downtown. If you look at downtowns in our region and across the country, one thing that you'll find in common is that there's this core, that there's a heart to the downtown, and it's usually a civic space, a park, a place where events can be held, a place where people can gather and connect. And that's really what this is. So this is located right across Main Street from us, from Town Hall. We have some recommendations in the report about programming this. It can include a live entertainment venue, a market area where local vendors could set up, farmers markets or the growers market, a kids play area, as well as a town square that can be programmed for town events or any kind of event that a citizen might want to hold. So the impetus for this, like I said, one is to provide that heart, that core, but this offers an anchor that's more central to both downtown districts. We wanted to identify spaces that weren't far away from the Varina downtown district or the Fuquay downtown district to start to make it feel like one downtown, that there's something central to offer. The park would also provide additional activation for the downtown mixed use project that you are all currently undertaking. And just one thing of note here, so we've shown the whole site across the street, but the existing buildings adjacent to the park would be separate from any future park development. So you'll notice in the report that there is a recommendation to undertake a master planning and implementation process for the park. The buildings and any kind of development or redevelopment would be separate from that process. Next up, we have the Junction Mixed Use District. So this is along Main Street. It's just south of the Varina downtown district. This is a mixed use district that we thought could really go a long way in activating a part of downtown that's underutilized right now. And because of where it is, it contributes a lot to feeling like downtown is two separate places, that there's Varina and there's Fuquay, and then there's this space in between that needs some activation to make it feel like downtown Fuquay-Varina. So we have recommended a variety of development types, working with staff. All of these, though, the common theme is activating that ground floor, getting retailers in here so that people have places to go, things to see, places to shop, places to eat, things that will draw them not to just their maybe initial destination in downtown, but will have them explore downtown. As part of this project, we also identified, working with staff, the need for some type of connector between downtown Varina and this junction area and downtown Fuquay that relieves the need to have an uncomfortable interaction or crossing at the railroad. So we've called that the junction connector. As you'll see in the report, there are some recommendations about how to approach this project, but generally doing some feasibility work to figure out the best way to do that. But we definitely think that that is something that could definitely increase mobility in downtown. Last but certainly not least is the Mineral Springs District. So we have not recommended any physical changes here, so no new development, no new capital work, but when reviewing the market findings as well as some of the community feedback, we really saw an opportunity here to build a district around the theme of health, wellness, and the arts. As you all probably know, you have a mineral spring here. Historically, those have been associated with people traveling to improve health, wellness, partake in the spring. You also have made a great investment in the Arts Center where visual arts, performing arts are on display. So really taking that momentum that's already there and trying to build on it and expand it. There are some recommendations about specific types of business recruitment in there to build a district around, again, this identity of health, wellness, and the arts. Next, we have recommendations around the streetscape in downtown. The goal here is to reimagine downtown streets to make it more walkable and accessible. Three main goals here: improving walkability, improving safety, and improving placemaking. One of the number one comments we got during community feedback, and something that we heard a lot about from staff, is that people don't always feel safe walking downtown. They feel like there's a lot of traffic, they feel like they can't safely cross streets, and there are certain areas where the street feels very cramped and they just don't feel comfortable. So those are the things we really wanted to look at improving with these recommendations. Now, the report goes into a lot of detail, and I won't get into every street section here with you, but basically what we did was looked at each of your streets and classified them using this tier system that you see on the screen. In the streetscape plan, you have primary streets, so that'd be Broad Street, Main Street, and Academy Street. Secondary streets, that comprises most of the rest of the streets, and festival streets. And again, I'll talk about each of these in a little more detail. Primary streets, so these are your larger streets where you have a lot of traffic. What we really wanted to do here was look at ways that we can improve pedestrian circulation, but also create a consistent experience. As you walk from Town Hall down to Mineral Springs Park, if you pay attention to the streetscape, it changes quite a bit. It widens, it narrows, it widens again, it narrows again, at some points pretty severely. So the goal here was to create a consistent experience and give a little more space back to pedestrians, anticipating that as downtown grows, as you get more businesses, there should be more people here. And as your community grows, there should be more people here, and they need to be able to walk and get around, otherwise they may not come downtown. Secondary streets, again, these are most of the rest of the streets, so the streets highlighted in green on this map. So with these same goals, walkability, safety, placemaking, What we've done with this streetscape is instead of prescribing one option, we've included what are called flex zones. And those are zones where whoever is implementing the streetscape, whether it be the town or a private entity, they could put in those zones whatever they wanted to best accommodate the program that they have in mind. So what we've done is set up a system of minimums, a minimum sidewalk width, travel lanes to make sure the basics were taken care of, and then given some freedom so that these streets are contextual and respond to their environment. And finally, festival streets. These are streets that can accommodate vehicular traffic, but they can also be closed down and pedestrianized, either for long stints of time or for specific events. But it's a way to get a little more bang for your buck with your right-of-way and also be able to accommodate a variety of events or give events some overflow space. So again, these can accommodate vehicular traffic for loading, deliveries, drop-off, accessibility concerns, things of that nature, but they could also be closed. This is something that you already do a lot with Depot Street, right? During some events, closing it down. So this is taking that idea, formalizing it a little bit, and looking at other places in downtown where you can do that. The next section is transportation, and this is thinking more about making downtown safe and accessible to all visitors. And this is, obviously for areas outside of just streetscape concerns. The main focus of these recommendations were to improve intersections, establish a downtown rail trail, address parking, and improve pedestrian and cyclist safety. So if you look at the map on your screen, you'll see brown dots on it. Those are all of the intersections that we identified by reviewing both your recently adopted bicycle and pedestrian plan, as well as field verification of intersections that needed some type of improvement. The specific improvement needed is listed in the report, but generally they fell into the 6 categories on screen. And again, all of those categories relate to safety and mobility, being able to get around easily, quickly, and safely. The downtown rail trail. This is, again, a new thing that we are seeing in our region in particular. Durham is doing something similar. Wake Forest is doing something similar. Our downtowns are often really constrained for space, and by the time we get around to planning processes like this, the hand has already been dealt, so to speak. So you've got to look for opportunities within all the existing constraints, and this is something that a lot of communities have found to be very successful for them. You are basically implementing a greenway trail, either along abandoned rail or along active rail if you can get an easement agreement with the railroads to use some of that space that is not used otherwise as a way to get people around more and add some recreational opportunities, as well as connect neighborhoods to downtown. If you look at the map, those dark green dashes, we've shown along the rails that connect into downtown. There are a lot of neighborhoods that currently would have to drive to downtown, and if this were implemented, some people would still drive, but this adds an option to walk or bike, which again, the more opportunities we can find to bring people downtown in any mode or manner is what we're looking for. Parking. So we have several recommendations related to parking. One, and this is something that has already been reinforced, I think, in your existing policy and regulatory documents, is that future mixed-use development needs to provide either structured or surface parking. Obviously, structured parking is more efficient. You get more spaces because you're going vertical. But with parking, part of the conversation that we had with staff and with the community is that by improving the streetscapes, by improving walkability, there's a decreased need for parking right at your destination. So we're not saying get rid of all the parking in downtown. What we're saying is by improving the walkability, if you have to park, let's say half a block from the store that you came downtown to get to, well, there's stuff to see and there's stuff to do, and that experience is nice. Reprioritizing parking increases downtown exploration and incidental encounters. This is something that's come in years of research that by decentralizing parking a little bit and having people walk more, people are more likely to come downtown, they're more likely to stop in places they didn't necessarily intend to and discover things. As part of this project, we did do a basic parking assessment. The results of that assessment indicated that day-to-day needs in downtown are met by your current parking situation. However, that parking, again, may not be right at your destination. So when we evaluated it, it seemed to be that there was ample parking, but obviously, a parallel space is only 10 feet long, so you might not be able to park right in front of the store that you were coming to or the restaurant. Next, we have land use and historic preservation. The focus of the land use recommendations are to reinforce the downtown vision. So your existing documents already set forth that downtown should be walkable and vibrant and accessible. The recommendations around land use are meant to just make those more concrete. Encouraging downtown development, providing a land use vision for the junction. So obviously we already touched that with the junction mixed use district, but there are some other parcels around there that we didn't do detailed drawings for that a land use vision felt appropriate for. So this is something that, if adopted, would say to the development community, this is what the town thinks is appropriate in this area based off the findings of the generational master plan. There are some minor amendments to the land development ordinance that are included in the report. And we've also made a point to encourage in the downtown, especially, a diversity of housing types so that, again, thinking generationally, not everyone wants to live in a single family home. Not everyone wants to live in an apartment. And there's a lot of different housing types in between those two, let's say, polar ends. So again, encouraging development that's diverse and is providing generational interest. Historic preservation. Talking with staff, we feel like the best route is to establish an internal historic preservation working group. So this would be comprised of staff who can discuss and make decisions, bring items back to you related to historic preservation in downtown and town-wide. Engage and educate the community. We have some detailed recommendations about engagement and education opportunities that you have to educate the community about historic resources in the downtown. Partnership with outside preservation programs. There are a ton of programs in Wake County and in this state related to historic preservation. And a lot of the more robust historic preservations, especially in downtowns in this state, have a really strong network of partnerships. And finally, building local historic districts around your existing National Register sites. So you have 2 districts, National Historic Register districts, in your downtown. That provides recognition, it provides some protection, but I'm sure, as you're all aware, local historic districts provide more protection. They are more regulatory in nature. They're more prescriptive in what can and cannot happen in those districts. So we've recommended that you consider looking at those national districts and consider adding them as local landmark districts so that you have a little more say in what's going on in those and in preserving them. Last but not least, economic development and downtown programming. Recommendations here really focused on business recruitment and retention, integrating public art into downtown branding, and looking for opportunities to expand your public space network in downtown. So with business recruitment and retention, you'll see in the report, and especially in the appendix report, a very thorough market study was done. It looked at what you have currently in your stock downtown for retail, for office, commercial, and residential, and looked at what you have a market for based off of demographics, based off of growth trends. I won't go over this whole table with you, but the market study did find that you have a market capture possibility of an additional 184,500 square feet of retail, which is quite a bit. The report breaks down each of those industries. So exploring additional internal and external funding for nurturing new small businesses. I think we all know that in the best downtowns that we've been to, that small businesses are the backbones of those, because they provide unique opportunities, but they're also usually employing and owned and operated by people who live here, who know your community, who know what the community wants. So finding ways to bring those people to the table and make sure that downtown Fuquay-Varina is their home is imperative. Developing targeted recruiting strategies for business types identified. So each of the market study has recommendations for how to recruit businesses, and we've also included a lot of information from the Main Street program about fostering entrepreneurship for each of these different types of larger industries. Public art. So, public art is a really interesting topic for downtowns because it comes in so many forms and fashions. You have some murals in downtown, that's public art, but it can also be sculpture, it can be permanent, it can be temporary. Public art is really popular in downtown because downtowns get a lot of foot traffic, they get a lot of vehicular traffic, so if you're gonna spend money on something or have the community invest in something and put it together, you should put it where it's gonna get the most visibility, and that's often downtown. Public art provides unique opportunities to express community culture. They are things that make downtown feel unique. They make downtown feel identifiable and make it stick out from other places. The plan provides a sample signage and wayfinding package. This is something that not everyone thinks of, but starts to build in people's mind when they see certain signage types, when they see a certain visual identity, they start to associate it with downtown, and it, again, builds downtown's presence in their mind and in the community. And then last but certainly not least is programming. And this is something I will say, having done several of these, that you all do an excellent job at. I have not seen, in doing several area plans or downtown plans, a event calendar as packed as yours, which is great because that brings people downtown. But it also ingrains downtown into the community. People associate downtown with cultural expression, and that's really how you start to get them to succeed. So the recommendations in the report aren't really calling for you to do anything different, but to lean on the FVDA, lean on staff, and lean on private business owners to continue to expand that offering as downtown grows. As you implement some of these recommendations, as you have more spaces come online that can offer bigger events or different type of events, is to keep your foot on the gas on programming, because that's what gets people here, not just from town, but that's also, we find programming is what has the largest regional draw, because programming is usually very specific. So the programming you're doing here, it's very Fuquay-Varina, right? And so when people hear about it in the region, they're more likely to come to your downtown to go to those events because their communities aren't offering it. So this is an area where you're already doing great work, and we really encourage you to keep going. And that is all I have for you. Again, that is a brief overview. The report provides a lot more detail. It also has the specific recommendations in there. But at this time, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Marilyn, you have any comments you'd like to make?
Well, I think we saw a little bit more in our Fuquay-Varina Downtown Board meeting when you came to that, because we had more time, of course.
Yep.
It was exciting that there were some, maybe if you could speak a little bit about the idea of having a downtown water feature or park, talk a little bit more about the park.
Sure. So I think you're at the FVDA meeting, we discussed more in depth the Piney Woods Park. And there's an area that we've reserved in there for programming that in the report is referred to as Town Square. And what we like about features like this is that they're flex spaces. So you could incorporate, to Mayor Pro Tem Gardner's point, a water feature in here. What we've seen in other communities is that this water feature in the winter becomes a small pop-up ice skating rink. But this town square becomes a place that is this flex zone that can provide a lot of different amenities to people, and can really become a place that the town can program pretty heavily with their own programming.
Over time, I'm assuming this property comes up for sale, what you're recommending would be the town to look to enter into agreements to buy some of that property?
Correct. So the report, the specific recommendation is to either pursue a kind of buy as it comes strategy, and then you can develop the park piecemeal over time. You would obviously have a guiding master plan, but you could phase it, or you could do something like land banking, where you wait until you have what you feel like is adequate land to implement a majority of or the entirety of the park program and do it all at once. Yep.
You mentioned one area on here about activating some of the railroad trails. We know the heartache of Fuquay-Varina for a long time has been the railroads dividing Fuquay and Varina and being able to cross it. And as you showed a bridge, that's something that we discussed here. But also these greenway trails and the the railroads, how they connect near neighborhoods and can become greenway trails. I really like, often our citizens have talked to us about wanting more greenway trails, more walkability in our community. And I think about them as connecting neighborhoods and moving from one side of town to the other. But what I really like about, and railroads often have been converted with that. And that's something we discussed with staff on working hard to be able to get the railroad authority to let us do something with those. But that it gives another access to downtown. I really like that. I haven't thought about that as much as a way to get downtown as much as I was thinking walking and running and biking down long railroad trails. But another path into town, as you mentioned, from several of these neighborhoods. And that's something I believe staff's working hard on that right now on there. What I don't think you're recommending us necessarily, and this is a draft plan tonight too. We'll have a public hearing in the future and look to give feedback and adopt it, but you're not necessarily prioritizing one area over the other. What we're talking about is an overall master plan of what we could see the future of Fuquay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, we did not provide in the implementation matrix, we did put, obviously the recommendation, the ideal timeline, the responsible departments, but we very intentionally did not choose to include a priority matrix because some of these are really big projects and the opportunity to do it could pop up tomorrow or it could pop up in 10 years. And what we don't like for these plans to do is say, well, if you haven't done A, then even if the perfect opportunity arises to do B, then you can't do it. So what we really wanted to do was provide a plan that had a set of recommendations that you can tackle as the opportunity and as the resources are available.
Come up with a plan, adopt a plan, and stick to the plan.
Exactly.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Harris.
Just a question about the town square. I know that's mentioned in the plan, but are there different variations in the size and space and dimensions of a town square? Can it be smaller, larger, or what normally would be the size of a town square?
That's a great question. So I'll answer it in two parts. First, to your question of whether or not there can be flexibility. Absolutely.
Okay.
What we did with this plan was we drew kind of a first pass, if you will, at what programming would be ideal for this space. And we gave them some dimensions looking at best practices. But you'll notice in the recommendations that the first recommendation for the Piney Woods Park is to go through a park master plan process because that's where you can really dig into site constraints and opportunities and what the community wants in the sizing of things. To answer your second question in terms of an ideal size, what we found is it really ranges and it depends on if you want it to be a formal space that's more of just an entryway. You could get away with something as small as a 1/10 of an acre or a 1/4 of an acre. But if you look at town squares as part of larger parks that are heavily programmed or activated, sometimes you get upwards to an acre. So if you've been to the downtown Cary Park, I'm sure you all have, it's caused quite the buzz. I believe that's around 3/4 of an acre, their town square that's right there at the corner. So there is flexibility, and I think the ultimate size depends on how much you want to get out of it.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I do like that attention has been paid in this plan for places for people to sit and gather. And that's something that we hear all the time, that people would like more places in the downtown area to spend time and meet people and that kind of thing. I like that. And we have a very unique, I don't want to call it a problem because it's not. I mean, I think it's an opportunity. And that is that we have two downtowns and it's a challenge to, or has been as time has gone by, to make that feel like a cohesive downtown, one cohesive downtown. And I think this has paid attention to that and the need for connectivity between our two downtowns because they both have a lot to offer, I think, and both have their own charm.
Absolutely. And I think that's something with staff that between the idea of the junction connector, which obviously is a big piece of capital, but also going in and working with Pam and others in planning to work out that kind of broad land use vision for the junction so that there is some guidance there that specifically pays attention to making sure that any kind of resulting infill development or redevelopment still achieves that goal of filling in that space and making the two downtowns feel connected.
It's exciting.
Thank you.
Any other comments from board members?
I like the walkability. When I was talking to the owner of the library, he's saying that a lot of his customers just walk to the restaurant. And I think that would allow, if you live slightly outside, I mean, I live slightly outside the downtown, or, you know, that you can walk, you don't have to park.
Yes.
Walk, and so I think that would solve a lot of the parking issue, you know, any parking issue that could arise on the roads. Right now,
Right.
parking is good. I just have one question.
Absolutely.
Where does, in terms of on the south side of downtown Fuquay, is that starting from Mineral Spring Park?
Yes. So the study area is technically a combination of your DC1 and DC2 zoning district, which ends right there at the southern tip of Mineral Springs Park. Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Mayor, you had mentioned about we were going to get a lot of feedback, or try to, between now and when we make a decision, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I hope we can, as a town, do a good job to get this out to the public, and you know, I'm hoping to get a lot of community feedback, because sometimes the really good ideas come from just folks that maybe aren't as involved as everybody else, but they'll come up and tell you something that nobody else thought about. So I really I think it's very important, and I'm very interested to see what the community says, and I think we're headed in the right direction.
Agree with that, Commissioner Adcock. There'll be a public hearing in the future.
Might there be, we talked, I mean, certainly it was mentioned tonight that this will be on Let's Talk Fuquay-Varina for 30 days.
Yes.
The concerts that are coming up this fall, is there, I guess I'd like to hear in the past when we have used those for getting out some of these proposed plans and things, and have had that someone, you know, that could present a little at the concerts.
Yeah, we have not contemplated that for this at this time, because we've done a lot of public engagement on the front end to get to this point. And so really this was intended to present the draft plan to the town board this evening, and then follow it up with engaging the public on the draft plan through Let's Talk FV. But we do have a couple of concerts coming up within the next 30 days. And so if the board would like for us to do that, we can try to plan to have some sort of presence at least one of our fall Mid-Fuquay concerts.
Sometimes I think people, you know, when they are somewhere like that and happen upon it, they might interact then when they wouldn't go to something or wouldn't go online or.
Yeah, one of the advantages of having it on Let's Talk FV is we can post the plan in a much greater detail, so that the public can take their time to sort of comb through it and then give feedback on it. We have to think about how we would try to get the message across in a environment like a concert, and get it to where the public, or at least bring them aware to the fact that it's one of the things we could do at a concert is bring them aware that it is on Let's Talk FV, and try to point them to that. Maybe answer some high-level questions if they have high-level questions for us in sort of that concert environment where it's a little bit loud and more vibrant, but try to point them to Let's Talk FV, where they can actually spend some time on their own reviewing the document and giving us feedback that way.
I think that would be a great thing to do. And of course, we did use those concerts on the front end to get some ideas early on.
That's correct.
So, yeah, I think that pointing them in that direction would be a good goal.
We'll aim to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you all
time.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda, item 4B, recognition of Road Scholar and Advanced Road Scholar certifications with the Public Works Department. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Public Works Director Stevenson. Tracy, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. We are pleased to be here tonight to honor a group of our guys that have been not just working hard for the town, but also working to get themselves trained and educated in the kind of work that supports our citizens. We have about 10 guys here tonight, and so we use the NC State Institute for Transportation Education and Research, or ITRI, to their Road Scholar program to help train our guys, particularly in the streets department. They can achieve 3 levels of Road Scholar certification: just basic Road Scholar, Advanced Road Scholar, and Master Road Scholar. In order to get Road Scholar, it takes about 7 1 to 1.5 hour classes. To make it to the next level, it takes about 8 of those classes to get to Advanced, and then it requires an additional 6 to get to Master Road Scholar. When you go to Advanced and Master Road Scholar, you have to do a paper that you turn in to the folks at ITRI about how your classwork that you've been taking through the courses benefits your job and your community. Tonight we have James Jordan, Tyler Cotton, Brian Kraft, Kevin Henson, Corey McLean, Angel Velasquez. Angel was not able to be with us tonight. Anthony Smith Jr. and Kyle Norris, all that have received their Road Scholar certification. We additionally have Jerry Birch and Ernest Cash, who have received their Advanced Road Scholar certification. All of these guys have been working for about the last 2 or 3 years to make it to these levels. Jerry and Ernest are our 2nd and 3rd Advanced Road Scholars. If you'll remember last year, we brought Martise Baker in. Martise was our 1st Advanced Road Scholar. So with that, the coursework for these classes for Basic Road Scholar includes asphalt pavement maintenance, drainage, chainsaw certification, flagger training, computer training, soils, and basic supervision. The Advanced Road Scholars, trenching, work zone traffic control, erosion control, inspecting curb ramps and ADA self-evaluation, OSHA training, and also some computer training. And so these guys have worked really hard to achieve these certifications, and so management and staff, we're pleased to bring these guys in tonight and honor them for their hard work.
Gentlemen, go ahead and clap first. Go ahead and clap.
So Jerry and Ernest, if y'all could just raise your hands just to let everybody know you're our 2 Advanced Road Scholars, and then everybody else, we're here to.
He's a Road Scholar also. Yep. Well, gentlemen, thank you for taking your time. I received several letters of congratulations on your behalf, each and one of y'all's behalf, and reading through these letters talks about, just as Tracy just mentioned, how much time you had to put into to get these certifications. This isn't one of those things that you go take a quick lunch break and you got a certification. You had to spend a lot of time training on that and doing that, and that betters yourself and your job here in Fuquay-Varina. For those in the audience or anyone watching online, curious what these men are doing out there is when storms arrive, when there's anything going on in our streets, pretty much anything related to a street, they're out there addressing. And so if a storm comes and a tree falls down the street, these guys are out there at nighttime or early in the morning time addressing that. And if we have storm drains that are clogged up, anything that is out of the ordinary coming to a street, you gentlemen are out there fixing that at all hours of the day, not to mention in addition during the daytime when you may be plowing a road for snow or ice and just doing routine maintenance. And nothing's routine with that. It's something different that goes on every day. And just as Tracy mentioned right here, I mean, you mentioned from one end of the spectrum of chainsaws to the other end of the spectrum of computers that you had to have. And so a wide variety right there. So on behalf of myself and the entire board, thank y'all for continuing your education. Thank you for what you're doing in Fuquay-Varina. It means a lot to our citizens out there, what you're doing, and this whole board appreciates you. We'd love to all shake your hands and take a picture with you, gentlemen.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate all you do. 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 Thank you. Appreciate the man. Good to see you. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate all you do. Thank you. All right, Tracy, great job.
In the window. There's a window.
Mr. Mayor, before they leave, I just
Mr.
want
Haynes, go ahead.
I just want to tell them thank you because you see them on the road all the time, and they do it with a spirit of excellence and always do it with a smile. I mean, it doesn't matter what time of day, whether it's hot outside, cold outside, they are always smiling, waving, and it's definitely appreciative. Even when they come in with some confronted citizens, they still do it with a spirit of excellence. I just want to tell them thank you as well.
Yes, thank you.
Exactly right, Commissioner Haynes. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the public comment period. At this time, the town clerk will call individuals that are in attendance and have registered to address the town board prior to the meeting. The public comment period is a time for the public to address the town board about any matter that is not the subject of a scheduled public hearing. Those speaking are asked to begin by clearly saying your name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. Teresa, do you have anybody signed up?
We have one person, Justin Card.
Justin, welcome. Come on up.
Mayor, Board of Commissioners, thank you so much for allowing the public to be able to come for you today. First thing I want to state is I'm a new resident of Fuquay-Varina. My wife and I just moved from Wake Forest. So I've seen Wake Forest develop since 1987 when my parents moved me out there when I was a little kid. So I'm really excited to see you guys developing the town. I also really appreciate you guys opening everything with a prayer. I believe he's the maker and planner of the universe, and without his guidance, trying to plan a town probably ain't going to work. So thank you for that. The reason why I come before you tonight is kind of impromptu. Don't really have a whole lot of this planned. I am planning on becoming a small business owner here in Fuquay-Varina, so excited about that. But with growth comes growing pains. My wife and I, my midlife crisis at the age of 44 is having my first child. So she's now 6 months old. But something that's happened here recently has been a lot of blasting in our backyard. An engineer came by the house one day, knocked on the door. Again, my wife being home with a 4-month-old at the time, was like, hey, how can I help you? He was like, hey, here to check out your foundation before we start blasting, in your backyard. So it's like, fine, I work for civil engineering for the state. So I know how blasting operates. Normally you come in, you blast a little bit. You also normally try to tell the community, hey, we're going to be blasting on this day, maybe about this time. I know weather's going to kind of change that up a little bit, but the blasting's been kind of constant. Today, my wife called me when I was at work. She doesn't normally call me when I'm at work because I'm a really busy guy there. And she's like, this time it really, really, really rattled the house. It's in connection with the construction that's going along kind of back behind Bridal Mine Drive. But I believe, keeping the community informed when things like that are going to happen is just really important, and maybe having some way with technology here in 2024 to find a way to communicate to residents, hey, might be expecting to be blasting in your backyard this day, maybe about this time, something like that, just so, you're not going about your merry way holding your 6-month-old child in the kitchen and just, have the entire house rattled. So my wife was like, how do you complain to the town about that? I said, that's not really easy to do. And so I was like, well, let me look online. Looked on the line, saw you guys were having a meeting tonight. I was like, that is probably the absolute best forum to bring this forward to the community. But really excited. I believe everything happens for a reason. So seeing the plans for downtown was also great tonight. So really glad to be a part of this community and being able to, be a part of that growth at everything and see it being done the right way. Seeing Wake Forest develop as much as it has, over the last, almost 30 years now, it's been a pretty incredible thing to watch. I'm also glad to see about preserving the history of this town. My family goes back in this general area of North Carolina for about the last 200 years. So I'm really glad to see that's going to be preserved. because one of the things Wake Forest is missing right now is forest. You know, there's no forest left in Wake Forest if you've been out there in a while. So glad to see you guys preserving that. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your comments, sir. Two individuals in the back, Chris Hennett and Pam Davison with her. Sir, Chris Hennett, sir, gentlemen. If two individuals in our audience, Chris Hennett and Pam Davison, if y'all, Chris and Pam, will y'all raise your hand for the gentleman right there? If you'll see them, they'll talk to you in the hallway or give you their card, be able to connect with. They can be able to help you with what's going on right there and give you some more information about
Thank you
that.
so much. I greatly
Happy to
appreciate it.
Welcome to Fuquay-Varina, though. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much. You guys are great.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
No items tabled from excuse me, Teresa, you said that was the only one we had signed up?
Yes.
Okay. There are no items tabled from previous meetings. That now concludes our public comment session. Next is public hearings. Public hearings are a time for the petitioner to present his or her request and for the public to give input and voice their favor or opposition to the request. If you wish to speak and are physically in attendance, please step forward to the podium one at a time, provide your name and address at the registration log at the podium, and clearly state your name and address for the public record. We ask all those addressing the town board to please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. First public hearing, item 7A, voluntary annexation petition, Joe B. Vass, 9709 Eden Trail, ANX-2024-06. More information about the agenda item will be presented by Planning Director Davison. Pam, good evening.
I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents in the official records of the town. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider an annexation ordinance extending the corporate limits of the town of Fuquay-Varina following receipt of a petition for voluntary annexation of the property located at 9709 Eden Trail owned by Joe B. Vass. The .53 acre portion of the parcel is non-contiguous to the town's corporate limits. Town water is available and a fire flow test resulted in an adequate fire flow. Neither public sewer nor town sanitation and recycling services are available and have been exempted per the annexation agreement. At the August 5th, 2024 meeting, the town clerk certified that the petition was sufficient and met the requirements prescribed by the North Carolina general statutes, and the town board adopted a resolution setting a public hearing for tonight's town board meeting. The present total value of the property being annexed is $198,316. The suggested motion tonight is to adopt the annexation ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Fuquay-Varina to include the property owned by Joe B. Vass, ANX 2024-06, and to approve the declaration of annexation agreement as presented and recommended. I'm available for any questions.
Call me with a mouthful of water. Thank you, Director Davison. Any questions at this time? The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of the voluntary annexation petition?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, board members. I'm Wayne Malden with Malden Watkins Surveying at 139 North Main Street here in Fuquay. We put this annexation agreement together for Ms. Vass that you have. Basically, out here in this area, they're having all kinds of problems with the wells, and the wells are going dry. Ms. Vass is in her mid-80s, and she's having a few health issues, and she would like to hook to the town water that is running right in front of her lot at this time. If you got any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak in favor of the voluntary annexation petition? Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the voluntary annexation petition? Hearing is now closed. Any discussion by the board? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mayor Masson-Gill, I move that we adopt the annexation ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Fuquay-Varina to include property owned by Joe B. Vass, ANX-2024-06, as presented and recommended.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. What's the board's pleasure on the items on the consent agenda?
Mayor
Go ahead.
Mayor
Mayor Pro Tem.
Masson-Gill, I move that we pass the consent agenda items 8A, B, C, D, and E as presented.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Administrative report, item 10A, resolution preliminary determination issuance of revenue bonds, Terrible Creek wastewater treatment plant. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Finance Director Crabtree. Joanne, good evening.
Good evening. I'm here again. Growth is wonderful, but there's things we have to do. We have just issued the revenue bonds for the water side of the needs that we have for capacity. And this is a resolution for the preliminary determination to issue revenue bonds for the Terrible Creek wastewater treatment plant. So capacity is needed in that area as well. All debt must go to the local government commission. The board must make certain determinations in order to issue the revenue bonds. Those determinations are that the project is necessary for the benefit of the town and its residents, that the project must be feasible, and the system will make enough revenues to pay these bond payments. And the board must affirm town debt management and procedures, that our policies are sound and in compliance with law, so they can make sure that they were going to get their debt repaid. Adoption of this resolution is a declaration of the intent to issue those bonds and authorize town officers to take all actions necessary. Tonight, management staff's recommendation is a motion to adopt the resolution, making a preliminary determination to issue $70 million in revenue bonds to increase the capacity of the Terrible Creek wastewater treatment plant from 3 MGD to 6 MGD. Any questions?
Thank you, Joanne. As we know, this project's well underway right now to continue construction. Mike's been working hard on that, and you've been working hard to make sure it gets paid for in a sound and financial way. With that expansion, recently, as you are aware, at the meeting we discussed our S&P rating, and then also Moody's has recently upgraded us, and so taking on this debt continues to keep us with our AAA bond ratings, correct?
Yes, where we are, we will be rated on these bonds at a later time. We're in the process now on the GO bonds, which is the next item on the agenda for the transportation.
Which is a great thing, great that we continue to keep a AAA rating, and things are very positive
We
out
are
there.
working hard to keep all the balls up and keep it going.
Thank you for making sure everything's paid for in the best way and in the most cost-effective way. That's the key with having good bond ratings gives you low interest rates right there. And
Yes.
so, any questions about board members? If not, we'll entertain a motion. So moved.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda, item 10B, resolution to issue voter-approved transportation general obligation bonds. Finance Director Crabtree. Joanne, you're still up.
Me again. I'm starting to be like Pam now. As you know, the voters approved $20 million in GO bonds for transportation. We have projects that are underway in the process of bidding and easements and everything else. And now we are ready to issue 10 million of the 20 million that we have authorized. We are working with Robert Baird as the underwriters. We have, like I said, authorization for the 10 million. Tonight, what you will be doing is approving the bond to form and the preliminary official statement, which all are attached in the documents. So tonight, management and staff's recommendation is for a motion to approve the resolution to issue the $10 million of voter-approved transportation bonds, including the attached exhibits as to form, and authorize the town manager and finance director to carry out all the responsibilities with respect to the bonds and the federal tax law for the finance projects. If you have any questions.
Joanne, previous meetings, we've been approving several transportation projects, and as we approve them and we get low bids in on them, we have to pay the people to do the work. And so that's here for the public why you're here today with that. And so we don't want to hold up these transportation projects by any means. Board members have any questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion to move.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the resolution to issue $10 million of voter-approved transportation general obligation bonds, including the attached exhibits as to form, and authorize the town manager and Finance Director to carry out all responsibilities with respect to the bonds, federal tax law, and the financed projects.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
And that motion was for the town manager.
Yes, it was.
Not the town
I said-
manager.
Yeah, I said manager. I said, manager doesn't look too good.
Yeah.
Next item on our,
Belichick won't catch that one.
next item on our agenda, administrative reports, item 10C, project ordinance amendment, POA 25-06, Hilltop Nemore Town Park Community Center, Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resource. More information about the agenda item will be presented by Parks and Recreation Director Cox. Jonathan, good evening.
Good evening, Board. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a project ordinance amendment for the Hilltop Nemore Town Park Community Center project. On August 8th, 2023, the Town Board approved an ILA agreement amendment with Wake County Public Schools for the Hilltop Nemore Elementary School and Hilltop Nemore Town Park Community Center projects that included the commitment of shared costs for the design and construction of a right turn lane from eastbound Hilltop Nemore Road into the primary and secondary driveway for the school and community center campus. Edifice Construction, the town's CMAR for the community center project, solicited bids and pre-qualified a total of 7 contractors. The first scheduled bid opening was held on June 27th, but Edifice was unable to open bids due to not receiving 3 bids and re-advertised the bid opening for July 11th and received 1 bid from Fred Smith Company. The total cost of the additional road improvement work is $974,880.09. The proposed project ordinance amendment reflects anticipated reimbursement revenue from Wake County Public Schools in the amount of $484,028 for the road and greenway segment construction cost and includes a credit from the town for the roadway design and stormwater construction costs. Construction of the right-hand turn lane and tunnel extension is being sequenced with the school road improvements, and Hilltop Nemore road improvements are anticipated to be completed in early 2025. When completed, the turn lane will provide a safety and mobility benefit for Hilltop Nemore Road users, community center visitors, and Hilltop Nemore Road Elementary School students, parents, and staff. There is a fiscal note to note tonight. POA 25-6 recognizes revenue from Wake County Public Schools in the amount of $484,028 for the cost sharing of construction and road improvements along Hilltop Nemore Road, and includes a credit for the town's portion of design costs for road improvements and shared stormwater construction for the community center site per the approved ILA agreement. The recommendation by motion is to approve project ordinance amendment 25-6 as presented and recommended. And I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Still tracking early next year? For opening
Early
for the public?
2025, yes.
Early 2025, that's great. Project's come along, looks great, and the public's excited to get to use it. Any questions or comments from board members? If not, we entertain a motion.
Mayor Massengill, I move that we approve project ordinance amendment POA 25-06 as presented and recommended.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is other business. Town manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things just to familiarize the board with and make you aware of, in addition to the many items that are on your agenda under other business, which we'll get to in a moment. Just some departmental operation-related comments. Our police department gave away 250 backpacks at the backpack school supply giveaway that was held on August 16th at St. Augustine Missionary Baptist Church. So I want to thank our police department and the community and all those who participated in that event to help provide school supplies and backpacks to children in our community. It was a great event, great thing to do, and it seems to be a pretty well-received service that we offer to the community. And today, members of our traffic unit undertook partnership training with Incident Management Assistance Patrol, the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, Wake County EMS, Fire Services and Fire Department, and the Wake County Emergency Management for a mock crash scenario on the new section of Interstate 540. And the scenario training included hazardous materials, incident management, and medical airlift training. So with a major piece of public infrastructure like the extension of I-540, it's always good for emergency service and responders to be trained and prepared for the worst of events. And so this was one of those opportunities to prepare and train for that. Our firefighter applications closed yesterday, and a review will begin today with hopes of having the vacancy in our fire department filled by the 1st of October. Applications for the first Fire Department Citizens Academy should open next week with a tentative start date of Tuesday, September 24th. So if you know of anyone in the community that's interested in learning more about the fire service and what we do, I encourage them to potentially apply and be a part of the Citizens Academy. This program will run for 6 consecutive weeks for 2 to 3 hours each session on Tuesday nights. And I imagine it'd be very similar to other Citizens Academies that we offer within our organization as well, from the standpoint of education and awareness. And our fire department's annual open house date has been set for Saturday, October 26th. So put that on your calendar. Always a nice event in our community and a way for our fire department to engage with the citizens in our community. Public Works, our yard debris requests have been 100 to 150 stops per week, or roughly 25 to 30% above average since the tornado and severe storm event that occurred in our community a couple weeks ago, and Tropical Storm Debbie. Our debris staff has been hard at work cleaning up after Debbie, and while some requests had to be rolled from last week into the first part of this week, we should be back to our normal cycle following this week. Our streets department staff are working hard in partnership with NCDOT and our debris department to clear any remaining debris from the public right-of-way. Public Works have met with department directors to refine the scope of work for the new fleet manager position included in our budget for FY25, which should be advertised to accept job applications in the coming weeks. The Art Center just featured 135 dancers in the summer showcase, and fall classes are now open for registration. Always exciting to see little ones prancing and running through our Art Center. They bring a lot of joy and energy to our Art Center. The fall theater season is now on sale and features 15 events between September and December. Nutcracker auditions will take place on September 7th and are open to the communities. If you know anyone who wants to take their hand at performing in the Nutcracker, encourage them to come on out for that. And the International Festival is coming up on September 21st. It's free of charge. It's featuring cultural experiences from Scotland, Poland, Japan, Africa, and more. So it should be a nice international festival with a great bit of cultural exposure. Our Follow Me to Fuquay-Varina concert series kicks off the fall season on September 5th with the Band of Oz, always a fan favorite in our community, and September 12th with North Tower. And we will host another food truck rodeo on September 8th with the Magic Pipers performing at the food truck rodeo. I think we've got 12 or so food trucks already lined up for that event, so it should be a lot of variety and an enjoyable day in Fuquay-Varina. Our IT and inspections departments are in the final stages of testing upgrades to the plan submittal process and e-permits. These upgrades will improve the process and allow for the online submittal of all plan types. Right now, we do accept certain plan types. This will expand it to any plan type. This is expected to go live on September 23rd of next month. We had again, an action by the board tonight to authorize moving forward on $10 million in transportation bonds of a total $20 million approved by the voters in 2021. The other $10 million will be coming a few months afterwards. We're cycling those projects. We've got 4 or 5 projects included in the first $10 million, another 4 or so projects included in the second tranche of funds. And so we're getting ready to see, as we've talked about, a lot of construction cones. If you haven't already started noticing them, you're going to notice them more around various parts of our community. It's a good thing because that means improvements are on the way. Ransdell Road Waterline Project calls for the road to be reopened before the start of school for Fuquay-Varina High School next Tuesday. Tropical Storm Debbie and some other just summer storm rain events delayed the main line connections and repaving, but it is scheduled to reopen in time for the start of school, so that will be ideal. And as far as economic development, I'm excited to just mention that Mayor Massengale, Economic Development Director McNeil, Assistant Town Manager Seymour, and I made a site visit, and we're given a tour of the CCL label plant on Purfoy Road. This facility is a beautiful facility, and their processes are pretty impressive. Later this year, or early next year, but hopefully later this year, there'll be a grand opening and ribbon cutting event where all the community, or I won't say all the community, but many members of the community will be invited to participate and celebrate with CCL on their opening. Right now, they're working on some final touches and gearing up for multiple shifts in manufacturing, so they're not quite ready to have everyone there, but they did offer an opportunity for the mayor and myself and Economic Development Director to take a tour of their plant. Do want to thank the town board and the public for coming out to meet, greet, and support our new police chief, Chief Smith, at the Arts Center. Since our last board meeting, it was a nice way for him to engage with the public, as well as the backpack giveaway and some other events that have gone on since he was sworn in as police chief. And that event in particular that night was well received. So I want to thank the board and the public for that. Today, myself, Assistant Manager Matthews, our Communications Director, met with representatives or staff members from Wake County government to begin having conversation about the Wake County Public Library's bond referendum that will be on the ballot on November 5th. We met to discuss the process of how those many projects will be implemented over the course of 7 years if the bond is approved, and how the public outreach and engagement process will work throughout the county, and specifically here in southern Wake County and Fuquay-Varina. And so more information about that will be forthcoming, but it does appear that the county is putting together a package that spreads investments throughout the county, but specifically includes the expansion of the Fuquay-Varina Community Library. Right now, the community library is a little less than 10,000 square feet. This project, if approved, the bond is approved, this project would expand Fuquay-Varina Community Library into a regional library, the only regional library in southern Wake County. A little over 22,000 square feet, or roughly 22,000 square feet. The plan would be to increase positions, a little over 10 and a half full-time positions at the library, 50,000 new publications and items at the library, in addition to what's there already, increased technology, increased parking, added senior adult programming, increased programming space, so space that is purposefully for programming at the library versus just having it out in the general reading areas of the library. It includes adult and children programming and one-on-one assistance, which currently is limited at the existing library. So a lot of advancements come along with the expansion of this library. Certainly something that arguably the town will benefit from, as would southern Wake County. So more information on that to come. Included in your agenda material, one more thing I would just mention, we are seeking RFQs right now for the Public Service Center expansion project. So we're looking for engineering and design for that expansion. I already mentioned Tropical Storm Debbie, but I just want to underscore and reiterate how well our staff did during and after the storm with the cleanup process and addressing the issues that occurred throughout that day and a half or so here in Fuquay-Varina. And there was a wonderful event that's happened since our last board meeting, the Local Heroes Breakfast, to recognize and show appreciation for police, fire, EMS, not only in Fuquay-Varina, but here in Wake County. And so I want to thank those who are responsible for putting that event on and giving recognition to those who put their lives in danger to save others, which is very honorable and noteworthy in its own right. Included in your agenda materials are a few items just to be reminded of. Our police department will be hosting a Special Olympics fundraiser this Saturday, the 31st, at 8:30 a.m. at Fuquay-Varina CrossFit, which is located at Clubworks. And so if you want to get a good workout, good sweat, and support Special Olympics, come out for that event. Coffee with a Cop will be at Chick-fil-A, always a favorite location in our community, Wednesday, September 4th at 9 a.m. I mentioned the Follow Me to Fuquay-Varina concert, Band of Oz, on the 5th of September, and our food truck rodeo on Sunday, September 8th. Our rescheduled National Night Out Against Crime will be on Tuesday, September 10th from 4 to 8 p.m. at the police station. We will continue to recognize and remember the events of 9/11 with a 9/11 National Day of Remembrance. It will be at 8:30 a.m. and this year it will be located at Fire Station number 4. We will have our police department and fire department will have a blood drive or host a blood drive. This would be the Battle of the Badges, Friday, September 20th from 12 to 5 p.m. This will be at the Hilltop Newmore Clubhouse. When you come and decide to give blood, you can say if you're doing it for the police department or for the fire department, and we'll see how all that shakes out with the Battle of the Badges. I won't let either one of the chiefs advocate here at the meeting for which one that can happen afterwards. There are some first readings on your agenda materials for your review as well. A zoning map amendment submitted by D.R. Horton, several addresses located along Wilbon Road. This is a first reading. Come to the town board at your next meeting. A zoning map amendment submitted by Malden Watkins Surveying for 802 Wake Chapel Road. A zoning map amendment submitted by Malden Watkins Surveying for 9951 Fayetteville Road, and then a zoning map amendment submitted by MPV Properties at 801 Old Honeycutt Road. So all first readings for your review and consideration before the next meeting. With that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments. I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board may have.
You know, Manager, thank you for that report. I was thinking, we talked about a blood drive right there, which I will partake in and give blood for that, and encourage anybody here to give blood too. I will not take a side on who gets my blood, but I can do that. Yeah, I'm not gonna win on that one, but I'll make a funny comment about that. As Junior Women's Club did a blood drive a few months ago, and Chief Smith was there, and I was there at the same time giving blood, and when I got done giving blood, my wife was standing beside them. I got up and fell down on the floor, and their mouths hit the floor, but I was just joking around. I wasn't really hurt. And the look on Heather's face and on Tim's face was priceless. They thought I had just fallen down in the middle of the place and had a major medical emergency, and I got up laughing, so they didn't think it was funny as I did. But anyway, I'll be giving blood, and if I do fall down, do try to resuscitate me, Jim. I don't need to. Well, give me a moment to make sure before you put your lips on mine, but then, Chief, if I'm not breathing, go ahead and put the lips on me. Yeah, just make sure first, make sure all good. So it was a funny day. Anyway, hopefully, in all seriousness, giving blood's a good cause, and I'll be there, and hopefully everybody else can partake in that too. All right, Commissioner Harris, any comments?
No comment, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Commissioner Adcock, any comments?
No comments.
Commissioner Wunsch, any comments?
No comments to me.
Commissioner Haynes, any comments?
Just a few, sir. It will be fast. First thing is I'm honored to represent Fuquay-Varina. I've been selected to be on the North Carolina League of Municipalities Legislative Policy Committee for the next biennium. So I'll be able to work working with policy all over the state of North Carolina, all the towns and cities. So definitely honored to be selected for that committee and excited about it. Also, I had a great meeting with the teen council leaders. They are excited about this year's teen council, which they have had a great number of young people already signed up for the teen council, and they're excited about doing some great things in the community community service-wise, and some other projects. So I'm definitely excited about that as well. I just want to thank all of the, including the police department. They allowed me to hang out with them a little bit and cook some hot dogs on Friday. But all of the different organizations all over town, they gave out book bags and school supplies all over the town. It was many over this past weekend. So definitely thank that, and definitely pray God's blessing over all our students, teachers, support staff, SROs, and everybody as some have already started back to school and some will be starting to go to school, and just have a wonderful year for all of them. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Haynes, you're right. Friday, that was a great turnout, and a lot of backpacks were given out that day. And as much as the hit was for kids picking out their backpacks that day, was getting to eat your hot dogs. Everybody knows you cook good, so a lot of smiles on everybody's faces that day. So thank you for helping too. And congratulations, by the way, on your appointment that you have right now with the League of Municipalities and your involvement. So thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, any comments?
I've enjoyed so many of the activities you all have already mentioned from this last month, especially the reception for Chief Smith. Right in the middle of it, we were entertained with the cutest parade of cuteness I've ever seen, with all the little girls in their tutus and their ballet shoes and everything that were practicing for the recital on the weekend, Maureen. It was just too cute. It was perfect. Also, just the one thing that is going on right now that most of you may not even know about. We have talked about it a time or two in these meetings before, but we have on the Fuquay-Varina Middle School, the old campus that has just been, I guess, decommissioned, and the new middle school will be opening. But on the former middle school campus, over between Ennis and Woodrow Streets, there is an abandoned chimney that over time has become a site for chimney swifts that are migrating to South America to have a little layover in Fuquay-Varina. There used to be a lot of these abandoned chimneys in the county. I've heard estimates between 30 to 70, so I don't know how many, but many more chimneys used to be available. And now we have 3 sites that we know of, one at Legan School, one at Broughton, and one at this middle school campus. We need to be very aware of the situation that site is in right now, because we could lose one of those last 3 remaining sites where the chimney swifts look to spend some time. They come in August, and sometime in August, and they leave with the first cold wave in October. And in that meantime, every evening at around sunset, they're out feeding during the day, and about sunset they start coming in to that chimney, and they go in what appears to be a figure 8 formation, and they fly around, and then they just drop down in that chimney, and it goes on until dark. And about the time darkness falls, you can hear them chirping, chirp, 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 just like that, because there are hundreds of them, literally hundreds of them, coming all during that brief period of time, which now is maybe about 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes, something like that. And then when the last one goes into that chimney, there is dead silence. And this goes on, as I said, from August until sometime in early October. And we just need to be mindful that if we want to continue to protect that special part of the environment that is going on right here in Fuquay-Varina, we need to be very vigilant about what happens with that middle school campus in these days to come. So I encourage you, we just went out there, and it says not to be there, but there are signs everywhere that say not to be there, but we just found us a seat on a picnic table and just saw a real show. But there are hundreds of chimney swifts that are counting on that. And there is going to be a special Swift night. We hear about Swifties, but of course they have to do with Taylor and not with the Chimney Swifts. But I think Anne Marie is working on some kind of program talking about the real Swifties, and they're going to be meeting Tuesday, August 27th at 7 p.m. At the former Fuquay-Varina Middle School, 109 North Ennis Street, Central Commons on campus is where it is. There's a rain date of Wednesday. This is Tuesday night, August 27th, 7 p.m. Rain date Wednesday, August 28th, 7 p.m. It's a rare opportunity to see a real show from nature. It's very neat, and we're fortunate to be part of it because the habitat is shrinking for this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Gardner. A couple things real quick. Manager, I think we do have a closed session tonight.
Yes, sir. Closed session is recommended under North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A3, attorney-client privilege, and A4, economic development.
Okay, before we go to closed session, you mentioned CCL and that we will have some public events that are coming up. A couple things I want the board and the public to hear. What they showed us there is, and the amount of employees that are working here in Fuquay-Varina and new jobs that were created and people that were able to commute to the job locally was pretty impressive. But the machinery alone in this facility costs more than the entire building and development cost. That's pretty impressive how expensive that machinery is when they started pointing it out to us. And that often CCL labeling, they want to expand this facility and it's going to become a major manufacturing headquarters for them. But as often we talk about Avery printing and Avery labeling when somebody wants to know what CCL does and say, okay, Avery, oh yeah, I've heard of Avery. I print my sticky notes at home. Avery is actually a subsidiary of CCL and a very, very small piece of CCL's business. Their major business is prescription drug manufacturing and labeling, and that's what they do at that facility. And so there's machines and everything involved with it. It's pretty impressive with what all's in there. And so we'll all be there here soon and the public to see that there. But knowing that we have that located here in Fuquay-Varina, it's something we can be proud of right there. And they focus a lot heavily on energy and automation right there, so taking care of our energy resources as they built that facility. A plug, Junior Women's Club charity ball is coming up in November, and get your tickets. It'll sell out very, very quickly, and encourage anybody to partake in that. That organization donates money right back into our community and does a very, very good job. And so charity ball will be coming up here soon. That being the case, we'll entertain a motion to go to closed session as manager stated.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. We'll have closed session momentarily when we get the room ready.